Satyabama Institute of Science and Technology.
Hello all, this is Dr. Priya Kumari, Assistant Professor, Satyabama College of Physiotherapy. Today I am going to present on the topic neurological assessment. Today I will be covering what is the need or first introduction about neurological assessment, why there is importance for assessing the patients before, and most commonly we follow for the assessment a format which is a SOAP format. So I will be covering the details of SOAP format, and this slide will be consisting more of a subjective assessment. So you have to keep checking for the further series. I will be covering the entire assessment in detail in the forthcoming videos. Let's have a look. Before going into the neurological assessment, let me first give you an overview of the nervous system. We need to understand the different parts of the nervous system as it covers a huge system. So nervous system can be classified into two categories, that is your central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system, as you can see, consists of the brain and spinal cord. Now the remaining whatever nerves are coming out, that forms the part of your peripheral nervous system. Peripheral nervous system further can be classified into spinal nerves and cranial nerves. Nerves coming out from the spine form the spinal nerves, whereas nerves coming from the brain stem form the part of the cranial nerves. Now peripheral nervous system, they can be divided into sensory and motor. When we talk about the sensory system, it is basically your afferent nerves, so sensations coming from the body towards the spine and further higher centers. It can be divided into special senses and general sensation. Now special senses, why special senses? Because these are the special organs which receive the sensation and send to the higher centers of the brain, which includes like eye for vision, for ear for hearing, then we have tongue for taste. These will come under the special senses. General sensations are present all over the body, and these sensations can be received from any parts of the body like touch, pressure, pain, temperature. Now if we talk about the motor system, we have muscles which are under our control. For example, if you want to eat, with what speed you want to eat, if you want to write, with what speed you want to write, that all is under our control. The muscles which help in executing this function can be very well monitored, and it is in our control. So they will come under voluntary motor system. But there are some parts like which is not in our control, which is working all the time. For example, heart, it beats all the time even if you are sleeping. There is a need for digestion all the time, even if it has to work all the time. So that is involuntary motor system. So motor system can be divided into voluntary and involuntary. Involuntary motor system, we call it as autonomic nervous system. Autonomic nervous system can further be classified as sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic nervous system deals with your flight and fright situation, whenever there is a scary situation or fearful situation, and the systems which get activated, and in that mainly your sympathetic nervous system plays a role, whereas in rest and digesting kind of situation we have parasympathetic nervous system. So these are the in detail components overview I have given about the nervous system. Now let us see why there is a need for the neurological assessment. As we can see, there are so many components. So we need to assess the patient in detail to find out which part of the brain or which part of the nervous system is being affected. What is the precise location? Because there are so many systems involved, it's a huge and vast system, where is the location of the problem, and also screening of the patients. For further, the patients those who are at risk of further neurological issues, we can screen them priorly with the help of the assessment. Now there is an utmost need for the in detail assessment, because we can understand if we know where is the problem, based on their functions, signs and symptoms, we can understand the difficulties which the patient will face, what are their abilities, the functions which they can do. There are some functions which they cannot do. So there are limitations we have to find out, and because based on that we will be planning our treatment approach. We have to train the patients. It will play a very major role in our rehabilitation protocol. Now for assessing the patient in detail, as I mentioned before, we follow a format called as the SOAP format. It is nothing but it is a subjective, objective assessment for plan format. It includes subjective assessment, objective. Subjective means whatever comes from the subject. Here the subject is the patient. If the patient can speak, whatever information the patient tells about their condition is under the subjective category. If the patient is not able to explain their situation, then we can take the information from the caregivers. So that will also be under the subjective assessment. Whereas objective is what we as a therapist observe. So we can do that by observing the patient, by palpating the patient, and also on examination. So based on these detailed assessment, we come to a formation of say setting up goals, and accordingly we plan our treatment. Today in this video I am going to discuss basically about the subjective assessment. Now subjective assessment includes, the first component is the demographic data, which has name, age, gender or sex of the patient, occupation, what job the patient does, address, referral doctor, if the patient has been referred by some other hospital or some other doctors, if there is a IP number or OP number, date of assessment, and handedness or dominance. Now we can see the neurological assessment, this plays a very important role, that is handedness and dominance, which side of the patient is being affected, or patient is either a right-handed or left-handed, because handedness decides the organization of the brain, and it also helps to plan our rehabilitation protocol or treatment plan. Next comes the chief complaint. Chief complaint is exactly the same things which the patient tells or complains to the therapist about his or her condition. It will be in the same words as presented by the patient. For example, if a stroke patient comes, or if a patient with any other neurological disorder is coming, and patient tells, I cannot sit, I cannot walk, I cannot eat, and there is a disturbed sleep of me. The same way it has to be documented for the chief complaints. This what is the significance of taking chief complaints? Because this guides the therapist to know what the patient wants to do and how his day-to-day daily function has been affected, and what are the measures the therapist has to take. So chief complaints will help in getting the problem list from the patient. Next is history taking. Now history, we have several types, and detailed history gives maximum information about the patient. So present medical history comes first, which is the entire information about the present condition why the patient has come. For example, if a patient has come with a stroke, since how long he is having a particular problem, or what are the medications the patient has taken, where he was admitted before, or has he taken, he or she has taken any therapy before, or any medication the patient is taking currently, all those things will come for the present condition. Related history will be coming under the present medical history. Also, if the patient is having specific X-ray report, blood report, CT scan or MRI for the current condition, we will be asking the patient to show that. Next comes the past medical history. Past medical history is any associated medical illness. For example, if the patient has diabetes or hypertension or any other metabolic disorders, any kind of surgery the patient has undergone, or if any kind of medication the patient has taken before related to some other issues, or any allergy situation is there, all those will be coming under the past medical history. Then personal history. Personal history, again we will be asking about the marital status, whether single or married, or what are the activities the patient does in day-to-day life. Then what is a normal routine, if any hobbies, any addictions like smoking, alcohol intake, or any kind of drug addiction is there. How the patient takes the personal care, like washing, cleaning, all those stuff. And how the patient perceives his or her problem in day-to-day life. Then comes the family history. Now why family history is important? To rule out the genetic problems, because there are some diseases which will be genetically inherited. To rule out that, we will find out the family history. Then comes socioeconomic history. Socioeconomic history tells the financial background, his role in the community, about the patient, his interaction, his status in the community, whether he is dependent in the family or he or she is a single bread earner in the family. So financial situations and family support will come to know through the socioeconomic status. Then comes the psychological history. Now this also is very important. This shows the mental fitness of the patient, how the patient is going to cope with the treatment, how he is going to contribute towards the rehabilitation, his mental state, anxiety, depression or stress, all those levels we can come to know. If there is independency or some counseling done before, these informations we will get from the psychological history. Now comes the environmental history. Now this plays again a very important role, as post rehabilitation or during the rehabilitation process, when the procedure has been done to the patient and goes back to the society or back to home, what is the environment he will be having. So in that case, we need to know about the home and the workplace the patient was having. Then if where there are need to climb the steps or basic changes, there are presence of handrails, the kitchen counter height, the floor, what type of flooring is there, whether it's a skidding floor, non-skidding floor, the type of the toilets they are using, then height of shelf, everything will be there, so that if there are some changes to be done in the family or in the home or at the workplace, it can be informed to the concerned person. Now, occupational history. Now, that also, because usually the patients, if they come for the neurological cases, they come for rehabilitation. Post rehabilitation, getting back to work becomes again a serious concern. So what was the type of work they were engaged before, whether they can come back to work or not, that also is very important. Then what was the intensity and duration of their work time, how easily they can go to the workplace, whether the workplace was far or near, whether it's possible to go back to the work completely or they have to look for some other options. Those all suggestions can be given only based on these kind of history collected from the patient. Now comes the pain assessment, which is again very important. For pain, we will be asking with the patient which side of, if the patient has a pain, what side of the body is affected, what is the site of the pain, what is the intensity of the pain, duration of the pain, when the pain increases, how the pain reduces, what all they do to subside the pain. So these all informations will be collecting from the subject based on the regarding pain. Now we can evaluate that based on a scale which is called as a visual analog scale, most commonly used scale. There is a pain numeric scale. We have questionnaires like McGill-Melnat pain questionnaire. Now this VAS scale, I will tell briefly, is that it is like a 10-point scale. We'll ask the patient to grade his severity level in this 10-point scale, and based on that we'll come to know, we will get a quantified evaluation of the pain level. Nowadays there are different versions are being used. We can have different emojis, we can have different color codes, we can have different grades like no pain, mild, moderate, intense, unbearable, those kind of headings. And with that, the concept is to get the severity level of the pain. So that's it for this video. Thank you.